What's up? What's up? Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. You also can catch the replay on YouTube, but make sure y'all subscribe to the podcast. So we definitely about to get to it. So what we about to talk about today is a solution to racism. There's some things that my kids went through experiencing this school district that we're in. So we live in State College, Pennsylvania. So that is where the Nittany Lions are. They say we are. And so, a lot of people are asking, like, hey, how's it living here and everything? And I say, it's a great place to raise children. It's a very safe environment, so very low crime rate. But what my kids experience is a lot of racism in high school. And so, what I want to do, I'm going to tell my story, what happened between my son. And this is not to, talk about anybody or anything like that. But this is to make sure that, to bring awareness to the situation and bring awareness to what we need to do. So, long story short, what I'm saying, there's a lot of incidents that happen in the school district. And so, ignorance is lack of knowledge or awareness, what I'm saying? And so what happened was, my son, well, pretty much, let me say this. So there's so many incidents that happen in the school district that they actually hired a lady from the university, and they gave her $97,000 to deal with all of the incidents that were happening in the school district. This lady has, been in this just well, she's been doing this job for 3 years. In her third year, they said she was around like 107,000 K, but she resigned on October 31st, and they did bring in somebody else. So, they did bring in Mrs. Black. So shout out to Mrs. Black. What I'm saying? I definitely, wanted her to get it, what I'm saying, because she definitely helps my kids with things. And my 17-year-old, she's her oldest, well, she's like her favorite teacher. So what happened was there's a couple incidents where the hijab was pulled off of two Muslim girls, and they told her to go back to her own country. Now, here's the thing. This is why I say the boy was ignorant, because, I mean, what if she was born here? Yet her ethnicity, what I'm saying, she could be born, what I'm saying, well, her ethnicity could say that she's from another country. And so, like I said, racism is taught, because if you take two little kids, one black and one white, 3, 4 years old, you know, they will not be like, oh, we can't play because of the color of your skin. You know what I'm saying? They will just play. So racism is taught, it has to be untaught. And so the way that the school district handles it, what I'm saying, they have to do a better job. And so it's almost like, well, it's not almost like, it's like when a kid of color, as they say, does something, it's a felony. But when a white kid does something, it's a misdemeanor. And so, not this past Halloween, but a couple of Halloweens at some point, you know how they have Dr. Seuss, they have thing one and thing two. Well, somebody came to school with N1 typed on there and N2, and they had that. And so the incident that happened with my son, when he was in ninth grade, this kid kept antagonizing him and kept calling him the N word. And my son eventually had told a couple of teachers, and nobody did anything about it. What I'm saying? So eventually, my son just snapped, and he just punched him in the arm. But after that, my son stopped. What I'm saying? I do, try to teach my son, not the nonviolence, not to react. But it was interesting because, I had black people and white people like, oh, he should have knocked him out and everything like that, And so, being raised and being taught and growing up, saying to defend yourself and everything like that. But anyway, what happened was, my son just hit him. And so my son was suspended from the game that Friday night, and he didn't play JV on Monday. Now, nobody has said anything to me, none of the coaches, and I had addressed it to the coach, and I had asked him, like, hey, why didn't you call me, and let me know that my son was suspended, and I also asked a couple other coaches, and they were just like, they gave me some excuses or whatever the case may be. So with that being said, I come up to the school right now. Mind you, at this time I'm working at Verizon, and so I have on my work attire, and I come to the school, and the principal, he's black, what I'm saying, he's looking at me a certain way, and I'm just like, what, he was just like, well, you're not like mad. I'm like, what you mean mad? Like, here you have somebody black that is trying to, and they certain black people that look at black people a certain way, what I'm saying, as if like I can't be upset, but still carry myself in a decent way. And so, with that being said, so I come to the situation. I'm like, hey, I don't like that my son did it. That is wrong. And so what happened was, they said that my son would get 3 days outside suspension, and this kid would get 3 days outside suspension as well. They also said that they were going to do an investigation because the kid said he was dared to do it. Nothing ever happened between that. Nothing was ever said concerning that or anything like that. Nobody ever responded back to me. So with that being said, the disciplinary principal, she's white. So she walks away, right? So this principal points at me in his skin and says, I'm here for us. And I stopped and I said, hey, ho, I'm not listening. I don't care about that. What I care about is right versus wrong. And why couldn't you do that when the white principal was right beside you? See, I'm not here for that, but we see that. Needless to say, I'm saying, this principal, rarely ever speaks, and it ain't that many black people around here anyway. It's probably around maybe 1% to 2%. You know what I'm saying? But it's okay though. You just understand how certain people can be. I don't call people certain names, what I'm saying? But that's just how certain people can be. And if that be the case, then it is what it is. So with that being said, again, we have this meeting and everything like that. And I'm like, okay. So they like, this kid's going to get 3 days outside suspension, and so is my son. So this was on Friday. So come to find out, on Monday, this kid ends up going to school. So this kid goes to school, and then my son stays out of school. So a lot of the other kids, they say kids of color, what I'm saying, were talking to me. I said, hold on. We ain't going to say nothing until after the 3-day suspension, because if we try to say something, they're going to try to cover up their tracks, right? So needless to say, didn't say anything. So then I come back to school to have that meeting with the principal. And I say, listen, you told me that this kid was going to have 3 days outside suspension. So here he come and he says, well, Mr. Howe, we couldn't tell you his punishment. And I said, well, why did you lie to me? All you had to say was, Mr. Howe, we can't discuss his punishment with you, versus telling me that this kid's with the same type of punishment. Excuse me. So I'm like, man, I said, that's not right, man. I said, when I left, you said, my son can come to you. I said, why would I tell my son to come to you? And you lied to me. Now, needless to say, there's other kids that really don't deal with this principal because of how he acts, you know what I'm saying? And how he treats, our kind, you know what I'm saying? So I said, man, that's not cool, man. You know what I'm saying? That's not right. So, you know what I'm saying? After that, the principal, the disciplinary principal, who's white, comes up to me and says, but Mr. Howe, we gave him, we went above and beyond for his punishment. And I stopped in their tracks. I said, how, if you lessen his punishment? And see, this is why I said what they do is, when a black person does something, it is a felony. They throw the book at him. But when a white kid does something, it's a misdemeanor. Now we're going to go to the scripture, because I always like to say that anyway. 2 Timothy 3:16 BSB. All scripture is God-breathed and is useful for understanding, for conviction, for correction, and for training in righteousness. Proverbs 28:5, New King James Version. Evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand all. See, this is the problem with America. See, the problem with America is not black versus white, as many of us think. The problem with America is right versus wrong. And see, when we get that, it'll be a lot better. And see, I was telling this, principal, I said, I want to talk to this kid, man, because, a lot of them think it's freedom of speech. And I have people go back and forth, with that. And I said, he shouldn't have said that or anything, but I wanted to know why. And so, the black principal says, we have somebody to talk to the kids of color. And my response was, so white's not a color? Last time I checked, it was a crayon in kindergarten. It worked like everything else. So why do y'all separate something and y'all only have somebody talk to the kids of color? Because at some point, somebody's going to snap. Nobody talks to these white kids. Nobody deals with them or anything like that. And like I said, the school district is trying, because they did hire this lady. But again, a lot of them is a lot of resistance and things and how they handle these things. And it's trust me, it's not. So I came to a couple of these meetings and I had brought that situation, right? And so the situation, it should have been bullying and harassing. That's what it came under to. But so the principal, this is a year later. And he says, oh, well, now with that situation, it's called ethnic intimidation. So now you have a nice political word to sit here and say that it's okay. Ethnic intimidation. Really? No, what happened to just bullying and harassing? That's what it is. And we see that. And so, my thing is, like I said, coming on here because I want them, this is my solution, is that ignorance, says lack of knowledge. And so racism is taught and it has to be untaught. So when our kids go to kindergarten, our kids go to school, they're being taught how to prepare for the next grade, right? And so once they go to high school, right, high school prepares them for college and college prepares them for life, right? Well, what if there was a class that was mandatory that taught them that they shouldn't be saying that because it's ignorant? How many times do we hear people say, go back to your own country? Yet, when we look at it, I mean, what were we taught in school? We were taught that Columbus found America. Yet it was already indigenous people here. We don't normally say Indians no more or Native Americans. We say indigenous people. And so we have that. And then looking at, if you go in the application, I'm saying, when I was telling somebody about the culture and how a lot of people are upset with Black culture and say, well, this is our culture. It is not our culture. These things were like induced to our culture because the term Black and the term white was created in America. But interesting enough, right? Now it has on the application, you can check, it has Black or African American. But let me ask you a question. Why doesn't it say white or European American? It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. And so, yet, when you had a lot of Hispanics that came here and they didn't want to identify with the Black people because of all of what they were going through, that's why they introduced on the application non-Hispanic or Hispanic. So that's why I wanted to have a class that says it teaches kids that it's not okay, to say that, because they feel like it's right to tell somebody to go back to their own country. And our people even tried that. When the situation with Russia invaded Ukraine, what happened? They were told to go back to their own country, right? That's what everybody was saying, right? They tried to go back to their own country and they weren't even allowed out. Interesting, right? So we look at that, yet we have terms that were used, right, as narratives. Like we have Black on Black crime. Watch this. It does not exist. Now, if you want to say a Black person killed another Black person, then okay. But why doesn't it say white on white crime? Why is there not a narrative on that? Why is there not a narrative Mexican on Mexican crime, Asian on Asian crime, African on African, whatever? You know what I'm saying? Because when I say Black, to me, that encompasses African, wherever somebody is from descent. Because if they get pulled over, they're not going to ask you, are you from Africa? Are you from the Caribbean? They're going to ask you, and you're going to be seen as Black. And so that's why I said there needs to be a class because of the ignorance. And, it's crazy now because that principal is now the superintendent. And, we have these people that really don't care, but they try to act like they here for Black people. See, I would have more respect for him to sit here and say that, listen, man, look, that's just what I did. You know what I'm saying? But he's not going to say that. So interesting enough, it came home. Now, this is supposed to be a level 3 offense. It came to my door, mail that said a level 4 offense. Now, y'all, I went back up there and I said, let me ask you a question. I said, you told me it was going to be a level 4 offense. Again, another lie, a level 3 offense. Thank you, Holy Spirit. And it's a level 4 offense. And I said, this better not be on my son's record or I'm coming back up here. He said, oh, no. I said, I promise you that. Now, most people would think, like a threat or something like that. But see, I'm going to stand up for what is right, because we see when somebody gets pulled over, they like to look at certain things. And I guarantee you that nothing was on that other kid's record because they gave them a 1-day in-school suspension. Now, interesting enough, my other son, who's still in the school district, have gotten some nasty messages on Google, Google Meet. So I'm going to show that to the group that I'm in that's trying to help with all this racism and everything like that. The kid was asking, can he use the N-word? And my son was saying no. And the kid was like, oh, we'll make a lot of money. And then he was like, "Can I call you a monkey?" And is that okay? And he put the monkey emoji, and said. Then he said he got permission from a black kid. Saying, and who's mixed. And this is another thing too. But I'm gonna get to that. But he said he got permission. And he said now he can use it. You know what I'm saying? And so the reason why I wanted to school these kids is because, like I was telling him, I said that kid that it called my son that incident. I said if that kid would have did that in my old hometown, he would have got beat up by the Italians. Like he might go to Philadelphia or Chicago or somewhere, and this kid might not make it home. But because State College is a unique bubble, you know what I'm saying, that it's a very safe place, but there's a lot of people that come in for the football games, like this football game that's going to happen, with Penn State. There's going to be an influx of people, which actually makes State College the number 3 largest city in Pennsylvania on that day or that weekend, because the influx of almost 150,000 people come in to the game. They tailgate and everything like that, and they end up leaving. And there's so much people coming in that a lot of businesses said that 30% of their stores, 30% of their profits are made on 6 home games. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they have, a lot of these games like on Thanksgiving, because most of the people travel out. So you had a lot of people that weren't shopping at the stores because everybody was leaving. You know what I'm saying? The college town, they leave. But to bring in people for this college day is gonna be crazy. And I'll be driving, Uber as well too. So and interesting enough, right? So we have this term mixed, right? So when somebody says this person is mixed, they mom, one parent is white and one parent is black. But if you take like one Asian, right, and one white person, how come they're not mixed? You know what I'm saying? Or if you take an Asian and the Mexican, how come they're not mixed? How come it's only black and white, or black and whatever else? But that's the thing. And it's like they created these terms. And so, that's going to be another segment that I'm going to talk about, and how a lot of things was indoctrinated into our culture, into what we thought was ours. You know what I'm saying? Because, there was a lot of things that I didn't even know, like growing up, I didn't know. And I found this out a couple years ago, after the George Floyd incident, that I didn't know that the police were instituted to catch slaves. So that was the origination of the police force. I was never taught that in school. You know what I'm saying? And so, I always paid attention. When I graduated from, in high school, I graduated the smartest male in my class, and I graduated the smartest male athlete. You know what I'm saying? I would have had valedictorian, but, I kind of turned it on my junior and senior year. I just didn't have to study. I could just go to school, take my tests and pass, and that's all I really cared about. But when I found out you can get scholarships and everything like that, I'm like, let me turn it on. So I made sure I studied and everything like that, and graduated with a 3.99 GPA. You know what I'm saying? But those other 2 years, my sophomore and my freshman year, it wasn't like, where I studied and did what I needed to do. So that's what I wanted to come on here and say. I believe that there needs to be a class. And what do y'all think? Y'all let me know, y'all comment. But I think there needs to be a class, that teaches them that, you shouldn't be saying that, because we got to teach them about culture. Because when you have a country that thinks that Columbus found America, when he didn't, it was already here and people was already here. But like everybody, excuse me, like everybody's going to be, having with Thanksgiving, and we got pictures that show that he was trading with people, but yet they were called pilgrims. You know what I'm saying? If you look at the origination of the history of people that left Europe, they left Europe because they were doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And they were doing things that were wrong. And what did they want to do? They wanted to come somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? And so, but like I said, it gets deep, but I wanted to say that, that there needs to be a class that teaches, kids that it's not okay to say that, to call somebody a name or tell somebody to go back to their own country, when they could have citizenship in this country, but yet they'll sit here and tell somebody to go back to their own country. And even when it happened with Ukraine, invading Russia, well, thank you, Holy Spirit, Russia invading Ukraine, right? They were saying, if you got a problem, go back to your own country. You know what I'm saying? And so we have, people that were commentators and people were saying, reporters were like, oh, this is a third world. It's not a third world country. These are good Christians. Stop. First of all, third world countries has nothing to do with Russia invading Ukraine. It has nothing to do with it. Nothing. We see that. No, nothing to do with that war. You know what I'm saying? And even on January 6th, when they tried to ignore the domestic terrorism, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And they act like it's okay for the KKK to do all these things and everything like that. And a lot of them instituted into the police force. You know what I'm saying? We need to teach the history. And that's why I feel in order for us to be better, you know what I'm saying, police should not have the right to be able to lie. And I remember I was playing flag football, and one of my buddies was a good white dude. I'm not going to say his name, but he was a good dude. I was in a predominantly black area, and he said, I just feel like I got to tell you, man. And he said, I know if I tell you, I'll be in good hands. And he said, Loke, he said, I want to tell you, Loke is my nickname. He said, I want to tell you that some white cops have became cops on purpose to just get on black people's nerves. You know, because maybe some of them were upset because they have been bullied or whatever the case may be, or they just wanted to get back. And, you know, we have to understand that we need real change. And so here's the thing. If we want real change in America, then there needs to be laws that actually convict corrupt cops or cops that do excessive force, because it's not all cops that are bad. You know, think about it, right? If you see a couple bad apples, you don't get rid of the whole apple tree. You just get rid of those apples. And that's what we need to do. For example, y'all remember the situation that happened in Buffalo where that old man was pushed down and 57 police officers left. They resigned. And people's like, oh my goodness. I said that was actually a good thing, because that's less of those officers that we need out there if they feel like that was okay. You know what I'm saying? That's not okay. And so when there's accountability for the police officers, then it'll be better for our country. So if y'all have any questions or anything like that, please let me know, or any suggestions. Like I said, you know, because I'm all about making our country better. And so to me, like I said, you know, my slogan is I have this Change for Change campaign. So if you want to donate to the cause, you know, it's not about making America great again. It's about making America better. And that's what I want to do. I want to make it better for everyone. You know, I remember I was on live and I said, I'm here for my people. And this white guy got on there and said, oh, you're here for black people. And I said, who told you that? I said, no, go ahead and say it. I said, who told you that? And he said, oh, well, you're black. And I said, oh, so you perceive that because of my skin color. I said, but let me just give you a little bit of history. I said, let me let you know. So I said, your comment was ignorant. Not saying you're ignorant, but your comment was ignorant, which is lack of knowledge. I said, on my mother's side, my grandmother is part Irish, which we consider white, right? She's part, she has Native American in her, you know what I'm saying, or Asian, you know what I'm saying, and African American. And I play all the time, you know, my mom, like my grandmother's high yellow, you know what I'm saying? But I love my grandmother, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I remember when I was 13 and she was 75, and she said, you know, we knew she's about to pass away. And I was like, man, like, you know, I wanted my grandmother to live. And my grandmother said, everybody get out but Loki. And, you know, at that point, everybody get out the door, close. And I'm holding on to her. Grandma, I don't want you to go. And she said, grandson, I'm tired of living for people. Take care of the family. What? And so I sat there and I looked, I'm just like, wow, like I didn't think, you know, that it was something that my grandmother saw in me. Because I remember one day, you know, my uncle was home from Desert Storm, and I think we had like a party or whatever like that, or celebration. And, you know, a lot of aunts, uncles, cousins, and everybody was home, you know what I'm saying? My mom was there, you know, and my brother, and, you know, and there's so many people, at least like 40 people, because we had a big family, you know. And so my grandmother, I'm outside playing, and my grandmother calls me out of everybody to come vacuum. I'm like, Grandma, why you call me? Like, why don't you just tell my mom? Like, and my grandmother says, because you the only one that ain't gonna complain. And I remember doing that. I remember just vacuuming and then vacuuming the steps and everything like that. And my mom says now I do things like my grandmother does. And so, you know, there's things that she does that I do now. And so, you know, I want to be a voice for the people so that we can make this country better. You know, because what America needs right now, what this world needs right now is real leaders. Real leaders with sound, you know, as I say, we talk about sound doctrine, but sound judgment on how we can make this better. And I implore you to, to go look at my other episodes. But, we're going to talk about how we're going to make America better, for everyone. And that's what we're going to do. And so that's what I want. I want to see better. And so, I don't mind being that voice for people. And I was just always one that was able to look at a situation and kind of make it reason and stuff like that. And that's what I do now with family, when they have disputes and everything like that. I handle things and I'm like, y'all know if grandma was here, y'all wouldn't be doing this, making it better for everybody. I tell people this all the time, and I challenge you, you were placed in your family on purpose with a purpose. So even if you don't understand what that purpose is, I want you to understand this, that whatever a family member has done to you or is doing to somebody else, I want you to pray for them. Because how do we expect anybody else to get better if we don't pray for them? Because family is all we got. A lot of times, people say, oh, I'm sick of family, F family, because there's a couple people that do certain things or whatever, or it's a situation and people don't understand all the facts, And so that will allow people to shape everything. And it's saying like, oh, family, that's not everybody is not like that. And some folks just don't want to hear the truth. They have already made up in their mind. And we talk about these mental health and we talk about, demons and unclean spirits. And that's something I'm going to get to when we talk about that as well, too, from a spiritual perspective, but how we're going to be better, And that's, like I said, what I wanted to do is make sure that, we're making a better place for everybody. And that's what I want to do, because God has placed it on my heart to be a leader, to be able to, help our country become better, help our world be better. So I'm going to tackle that, in the next episode. We're going to be talking about how Halloween is actually every day. Yeah, it goes deep, and I thank God for sharing that with me. But again, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. So, I'm on my time limit for my podcast, but I can stay on, TikTok. And, again, thank you for coming on here. Also going to be looking for sponsors to be able to, if they want to sponsor the episode and everything like that as well, too. So, again, I want to thank all my viewers that came on YouTube, Facebook. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. God bless.